Great. So welcome, everybody. I'm Jennifer Oldfield, the Senior Director of External Relations at the Global Partnership. We are very excited to be here today with our host, Ine, with many of the different partners who are helping to shape this event, and all of you who are hopefully submitting sessions and going to be a part of the event. We have around 40 organizations already formally involved in shaping this event, particularly in feeding into the type of sessions. And what we've been asking them is, what did you enjoy about other events? What were some of your highlights? What really sort of helped you network, helped you make the connections that really took you to the next level? And the reverse, what was terrible, what was boring, what was disappointing? Some of the responses we got were about very simple stuff like people feeling hungry or cold or confused, So in addition to trying to address some of those things and make sure that everybody has a fantastic experience, we've also carried that into the session proposals. And so if anyone's taken a look at the deck already, you'll see that we have many different types of session. We're really trying to minimize panels, and the panels we do have, we're trying to make them very engaging. But, because we know that this is all pretty new, we wanted to give the chance to explain and for you to ask questions. So with that, then we'll continue. Thank you. Okay. So we have the session. This webinar will be conducted in Spanish and English. We're going to have many different speakers who've kind of shaped the session proposals. And we have some principles that are going to guide how we evaluate the sessions, but also how we kind of construct everything in the Festival de Datos. So if I could show the principles to you all now, thank you. And as the slide says, please feel free to ask questions in the chat. We have a large team of people here today who will answer them. So these are our festival principles. I'm not going to go into them in detail because we have some other speakers who will unpack them a little, but they're there in the session proposal forum. And so you can go and have a look at them and sort of see what we're trying to get at. We hope that all of the content of this festival will really kind of live and breathe these values and, create a positive and very useful experience for everybody. Okay, great. With that, I think, Alan, do we have Fiona next? Over to you, Fiona. Thank you.
Thanks, Jennifer. I'll briefly introduce myself. My name is Fiona Lawless. I am a policy advisor on health within Sightsavers, and I sit on the Programme Advisory Committee for the Festival de Datos. And I'm going to talk today about the first principle and about the principle that we believe in crowding in perspectives on data practices so that the Festival de Datos will feature an accessible and inclusive programme. And I'm going to talk briefly initially about what accessibility is and how you can embed the idea and embed accessibility within your design of your application for the session at the Festival de Datos. So a lot of the time we talk about accessibility and inclusion, and we talk about it in relation to specific groups of people. But really, what accessibility and true accessibility is it's about everyone and all people being able to be reached, use the information, understand the information, and be present and part of the discussion. So in relation to sessions at the Festival de Datos, there are things that can be considered in your session design about how everyone can participate on an equal level. A lot of the time when we talk about exclusion or people not being included in the conversation, we need to consider the nothing about us without us principle. So when you are having discussions, particularly around the leave no one behind principle or about issues with data that are often not represented or people who are not represented, it is very hard to have a meaningful discussion when those people are not represented in a session design. You'll see from the various types of sessions that are available that there are 8 different session types. And with each of these session types, there comes different considerations for the types of accessibility and inclusion within those sessions. For example, within the Fishbowl type session, you may need to consider people's movement through the room and how that will be affected by people's different accessibility needs. There are a lot of tech accessibility considerations that you can take into account, for example, things like screen readers. And then there are also a lot of just accessibility and inclusive ways of speaking, and for example, not speaking too quickly, which I know I am prone to do as an Irish person. We are very prone to speaking at quite a fast pace. But also the main consideration when you are designing a session application is, are the people involved in the session inclusive? Is it an inclusive group of people who will be either facilitating, who will be speaking, who will be helping drive the session? Because if you have a diverse group of people, you will have very unique discussions, and you may come away with suggestions that may not otherwise have been raised. So with that in mind, there are some accessibility packs available on our website, Sightsaver's website. You have an accessibility pack for how to ensure that, for example, PowerPoints and etc. are accessible for persons, and with the, like I said, the tech accessibility requirements, but also look at accessibility and inclusion within the design. So moving from a typically global north heavy panel and looking at things like lived experience, which are as valuable to bring to sessions as specifically work experience. But above all, when you are designing the session, to consider not only the nothing about us without us principle, but the simply nothing without us. Thank you.
Thanks, Fiona. Really appreciate you sort of unpacking that. Next, I invite Ali Don, who's going to talk about how we want the sessions to be practical and useful. Over to you, Ali. Thanks.
Thanks, Jennifer. Hi, everyone. My name's Ali. I'm the founder and executive director of Data Feminism Network, and I'm also serving on the program advisory group for the festival. So the principle that I'll be talking to you about today is the second principle, which is we believe that sharing data and new approaches helps tackle real-world problems. So Festival de Datos sessions will showcase collaboration and be practical and useful. So this principle really stems from our goal to catalyze further action beyond the festival. So of course, we want this festival to be a place to meet new people, to be inspired, and to have an incredible experience. But ultimately, we want attendees to leave the festival with new skills and knowledge that they can add to their toolbox and apply to their work. So this means sessions need to be engaging and inspiring, but they also need to be practical and useful. Every session, whether it's a lightning talk or an interactive panel discussion, I know we'll get more into the different types of sessions later today, but each session should really end with a call to action. So without one, your audience is going to wonder, what you want them to do with this new information. So to translate this principle into a session application, you should first decide, what your session is all about. Focus on the objective, and then think about the impact that you want your session to have on the audience. This will ensure all sessions drive action and change beyond the festival. Thanks so much.
Thanks so much, Ali. So we're going to get into the session overviews in a moment. I just wanted to kind of explain that for these sessions, we had already polled our partners and asked them, what do you really want to get out of this event? And then we tried to sort of break that into different groups. And so we decided that really it's about capacity exchange, it's about connecting and collaborating, it's about consulting and debating these really sort of thorny or pressing issues. And then it's about learning what others are doing, what are the fantastic impact examples and storytelling and sort of ways of applying things in the real world. So we have 2 session types for each, and then I'm going to invite different speakers to speak to each. First is Emma Marty from data.org. Over to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jenny. Hi, everyone. My name is Emma Marty. I'm the Senior Communications Manager at data.org and thrilled to be supporting the festival on the program advisory group. So I'd like to just give a little bit of background on the 2 types of capacity exchange sessions and maybe highlight some areas that will really make applications stand out. So the goal of the capacity exchange sessions are for conference participants to gain new skills in their work in humanitarian and development contexts. The Festival de Datos is offering 2 types of capacity exchange sessions, training and peer exchange. So seen here in the training sessions, they're ideal for providing hands-on technical and non-technical training to enhance knowledge and skills in the 3 conference pillars of focus. So that's inclusive data, timely data, and accountable data governance. These training sessions are designed for a maximum capacity of 25 people. So the second session are the peer exchange sessions. And so these are ideal for people wanting to display, discuss, demonstrate lessons learned or solutions. These sessions can highlight products, tools, or services on a topic aligned with the 3 pillar areas of focus. And these sessions are designed for a maximum capacity of 25 people. So for those joining us on the webinar today and interested in submitting an application to lead a training session, please note that applications should have a clear description of the learning objectives, the intended audience and their experience level, and any required prerequisites. Proposal submissions will be selected on the basis of potential impact of the training content, the instructor's experience in teaching and delivering the training, and alignment within the conference areas of focus. As earlier noted, all sessions will be provided Spanish-English interpretation. For those interested in applying to lead a training or peer exchange session, please note there is a maximum duration of up to 1 hour and 45 minutes per session. So with this short time, please ensure that sessions have a high level of specificity, and the training and on the training, and that there are actionable learning goals that can be achieved within the sessions. Additionally, the sessions will be offered to participants across the data maturity spectrum and across different sectors. Conference participants will be voting with their feet, so to speak. So with the many offerings available at the conference, clear communications on the capacity exchange sessions and their intended audiences will be very important in marketing the session to fellow participants and supporting their wayfinding and overall conference experience. The goal of the training and the peer exchange sessions are to, of course, build capacity, but it's also to build on the network and partnerships of our data ecosystem. So with that, we hope that the Festival de Datos is only the beginning of the capacity exchange, and we welcome applications that can offer attendees with online resources or community engagement beyond the conference. Finally, reflecting on the conference principles, accessibility and inclusion are the underpinning of these sessions. It's important that all programs, tools, or platforms used or promoting in the trainings are available and financially accessible to all participants after the capacity sessions. So for anyone interested in applying to lead a capacity exchange session, please apply by Sunday, April 23rd. And I'm happy to take any questions in the chat and open up to Q&A after, but thank you very much, Jenny.
Thanks so much, Emma. And I think it was one of Emma's colleagues at data.org who called this a learner's tasting menu. I love that idea. We know that it's not a lot of time, but we hope that people will kind of get a flavor of the different things they can learn and then maybe follow up directly with the different partners to access more opportunities in the future. Great. Next, I turn to my colleague, Lucy Pearson. Over to you. Thanks.
Welcome, everyone. My name is Lucy. I'm the Senior Strategy and Development Manager at the Secretariat of the Global Partnership for Sustainable Development Data. I'm going to be talking a little bit about the next category of session formats that we're looking for applications for, which is around collaborating. As a network, partnerships are really at the heart of what we do and what we believe in, and we really want people to leave the festival with new partnerships and also an understanding of the benefits that collaboration offers. So towards that goal, we've got 2 session formats. The first is a simulation. This is a chance for people in the room to collaborate live and to solve a challenge together. Maybe put themselves in someone else's shoes for a change as well. So you might want to simulate something urgently that's happening, a crisis, and challenge different types of actors to collaborate, to respond together. You might want everyone to prepare for something in the future, or you might have a different idea, and we're welcome to all. This kind of simulation will take quite a bit of preparation, but it will really pay off in the level of interaction that it will generate. So you'll need to think a bit about how you group people. For example, considering people's language differences. And you'll need to think through how to simulate changes over time. But the big tip here is that people always take a little bit more time than need to digest information and come up with joint decisions. So don't try to cram too much into that session. So as outlined here, there should be some preparation that you'll have to do. But then in the main session itself, think through the session in 3 phases, that there's a setting of a scenario, playing that scenario out, and leave time for people to reflect on what worked well for their collaboration so they can take lessons home with them. The maximum duration for this session is 1 hour and 45 minutes. You can see there the list of resources available to you. The next type of session in this category is matchmaking. You might have been to conferences before and seen sort of speed networking or speed dating. And we're interested in that kind of format or any variations on that. This could be a broad networking session, or you might want to theme it around a topic of interest to you, such as gender data or timely data for climate action. The session could be open or it could be curated. So open meaning that everyone is free to speak to anyone in the room, and curated meaning that you as the organizer have thought about who will be in the room and who might want to talk to who. So one form of curation could be that you pre-identify a handful of people who have a specific problem to solve, and then the rest of the people move around to speak to those individuals to try and match solutions to those problems. Or you might think about categorizing people as they enter the room, for example, into public sector, private sector, and try to facilitate partnerships and discussions between those 2 groups. One big consideration here is that to think about different people's languages, different people's need to move around the room and accessibility issues. You might want to simply have different color stickers to indicate different languages people speak. Another thing to think about is how much time people need to start to think about a partnership, and whether this is a useful conversation to take forward even beyond the festival. You know, it would take me longer than 30 seconds to describe what I do in my role. So consider that people will need a bit more than that to really get into a conversation, to think about what are the gaps that I need filling from someone else. And also consider that extra length of time needed for those conversations. If people are needing to have interpretation from perhaps a personal interpreter, if that is needed by them. So I'll stop there and pass on to our next panelist.
I think we have Julio next. Thanks, over to you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Good morning, everyone. My name is Julio Lopez, and I'm co-founder and project director at Datos Foundation in Ecuador. And I'll be sharing with you 2 of one of the most popular and one that is not very traditional. So the first one, if we can pass the slide, is the Ideas Lab. We encourage here a lot of creativity, but also a lot of collaboration. You know, this is a crowdsourcing methodology that is very important to have multidisciplinary teams, but also I'll encourage multi-sectoral teams. You know, civil society, government, private sector, and academia could also work on very new ideas and creativity. Here we also consider like that there's engagement. So there's the first part will be a lot of brainstorming or ideas that may be developing a little bit later, but also we encourage a lot of engagement and follow up, you know, because some ideas can be really great, but then if they not apply, we can get, I guess, better resources if they follow up. Also consider the size, but also the inclusivity principles that we have mentioned before. And that in this case, there are many ideas we can, I guess, design, but also products, services, or prototypes that we already may be working in some regions and maybe apply to other regions. Because we will have people from all over the world here. So that would be really important to consider. And I will move to the next one, which is a very traditional one, which is a fishbowl. And here we also have suggested a very specific structure where you have a moderator and you have also people talking around. It's more like a participant-driven dialogue. We also encourage like the moderator, let's say, follows the ideas, but also someone else taking notes and making sure that you have documented whatever the discussion has been. This is often used for very specific topics that could be controversial, new, or complex. And I'm sure in the data world, we have now very specific and controversial topics. So that would be great to have new ideas here as well. Also consider the capacity and the resources available that we will have in the facility for the event. I think with this, I'll pass to the next speaker, and thanks a lot.
Thanks, Julio. I really appreciate that. There's a lively chat going on between my team about Lara's question. Thank you for that, about the discrepancy between the numbers suggested for some of the formats. I think what we have here is like rooms that hold a certain number, but also a feeling that a smaller number might be optimal for the session format. So we'll make sure that we're super clear on that, and apologies for any confusion. Our last format discussion is presented by Charu in my team. Over to her, and then we'll have more discussion on the selection criteria. Charu, thank you.
Thanks, Jenny. Hi, everyone. My name is Charu Vijaykumar, and I'm the Senior Director of Impact and Learning at the Global Partnership. So I will tell you a little bit about our case study analysis category. The purpose of this category really of sessions is for participants to gain knowledge about what the factors or causes of successes and failures or challenges are across different data approaches. And so this is really an opportunity to take a critical lens to kind of what works, what doesn't, and why. So we have two kind of session types within these. The first one is the lightning talk session. This is an exciting format. It's meant to be quite dynamic and engaging. It's also a really nice opportunity to be creative. So this session is great for those wanting to tell sort of a thought-provoking story about either a solution or a failure, and failure sort of being, you know, challenges are really important to talk about as well. So this is kind of a really great format for that. These will be a maximum of 5 minutes. So we're thinking kind of a storytelling vibe or a TED Talk type vibe. So for added kind of dramatic effect, there will be, I think, a bell or an alarm that is rung to kind of keep for timekeeping purposes in this session. But we encourage kind of proposals to have individual 5-minute sessions. It doesn't have to be a group of 5-minute sessions. We'll sort of curate across the various different 5-minute individual sessions to put together the maximum, I think, hour and 15-minute duration here. But this form is really meant to be sort of kind of a safe space and share either hard-won experiences or also kind of bring some humor into it. And so again, really a nice chance to be kind of creative. And the resources here will be a small stage setup and speakers with handheld microphones. And I believe with a seating and standing capacity for 50 people. So the next session type we have is the interactive panel discussion. I think all of us here are probably familiar with panel discussions, but this format is really kind of useful to take a specific topic or question and get into kind of the details of it from a critical lens. Again, really bringing that kind of what works, what doesn't, rather than just sort of showcasing kind of a specific initiative. It's really to kind of look at what is causing success, what is causing challenges. So this session is meant to have a maximum of 3 panelists, and we encourage kind of proposals to look for a diversity of experiences and really kind of have the prompts or questions for the panelists take a look at kind of context and as I mentioned earlier, kind of why certain things work, why certain things don't work, and kind of really get into the details. We also encourage for this session to be quite interactive. So that really means thinking about keeping the discussion amongst the panelists interactive, but also creating interaction with the audience. So really thinking about either warm-up exercises, interactive polls and games, but really engaging the audience in the panel discussion. So we're not necessarily looking at just listening to lecture style presentations, but really making it kind of dynamic and engaging. So the resources available there will be, I believe, 4 chair setup, microphone, and then floor mics for Q&A sessions with the audience. I think that wraps up the case study analysis sessions, and handing it back to you, Jenny.
Great, thank you, Cherry. Yep, we had a question about the number of sessions. So we have at present around 35 open sessions, and then we have some capacity to go up if we get, more proposals that we'd like to include by opening another room, but we want to be cognizant that the more simultaneous sessions you have, then the more you're spreading the audience across those different rooms. So we'll divide those roughly between the different session formats, but I don't think we have a strict quota. So if we had more strong proposals on Fishbowl format, then we might do more of those, that kind of thing. Okay, great. Now I'm going to go over to Alan on selection criteria. Thanks.
Thank you. My name is Alan Hollis. I'm the Operations and Incubation Officer on the Global Partnership Secretariat team. And I'm going to be going over the selection criteria. Every proposal that is submitted is going to be reviewed by members of the Program Advisory Group with support from the Global Partnership Secretariat. Every proposal will have multiple reviewers so that it is considered by people with different backgrounds, and we ensure an open approach to all the proposals. Every proposal should be relevant to the principles of the festival, and your proposal should have a clear objective of what you hope to convey or achieve in your session, as well as how the story continues past the festival. We don't want ideas to begin and end at the festival. We want to continue and ensure ongoing action. There, of course, are some additional criteria for certain session types. Some of these have been addressed by the speakers already. So if I repeat something that you've already heard today, please take that in the spirit of wanting all of you to send in the strongest possible proposals. For example, on the training and peer exchanges, those should focus on learning and should demonstrate that the instructors have sufficient expertise delivering these kind of trainings. Matchmaking sessions should address communication barriers. We plan to have live interpretation between English and Spanish in every session, but in a matchmaking session, there's additional challenges inherent with so many close conversations. So we hope that your proposal will address how you can overcome that. An ideas lab may require movement throughout the space, so a proposal should consider the physical space that people will be in. Interactive panels, as Charlie said, should include a component of audience participation. Lightning talks are a little different since we can have so many of these in a single session, but the proposals should still indicate a clear impact or learning from a failure, and hopefully a call to action as well. The deadline for submission proposals is April 23rd. So hopefully that's enough time for you all to get things in quickly and show your support and interest. I want to thank you, and I'd like to invite my colleague Freddie Rodriguez to moderate any additional questions from the audience.
Hello, everyone. Good morning, afternoon, and good evening for some of you, depending on where you're located. I'm Freddie Rodriguez, Senior Latin American and the Caribbean Regional Manager at the Global Partnership. So happy to have you here in this session. And as Alan mentioned, this is the Q&A part, where we would like to hear from you, or even through the chat, if you have additional questions about the sessions that you will be proposing, the dynamics of the data festival, the structure that we have defined together with the program committee and also the steering committee. So if you have additional questions, this is the moment for you to raise your hand or put the question on the chat box in case you have additional comments or questions as well. So let me check if we have any hands raised here. I don't see any hands raised. So I think, okay, this one, Purity. So Purity, would you like to open your mic, please? We have translation as well. So in case that you want to speak in Spanish, we can manage that as well. Or even if you want to put in the chat as well, your question or comment. Purity, can you open your app? Yes, thanks.
Okay, hi. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I just wanted to quickly find out if at all you get your proposal is successful. Are there funding, travel cost funding available, or do you have to take it up as an individual? Thank you.
I'd be happy to take the first stab at answering that. We will have travel funding available to some participants, but that process is going to be distinct from the session proposals. We have not yet opened the travel funding application, so we encourage everyone to still submit proposals. And if you are seeking travel funding, we'll be making announcements about that shortly. That process, like I said, it's parallel, but it's a little bit on a different schedule than the proposal process. I hope that answers the question.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Purity, and also Alan for responding to the question. Any additional questions from the participants? Again, as I said, if you want to speak in Spanish, because I know there are some colleagues from Latin America as well. So if you want to actually raise questions in Spanish, we have live interpretation to do so. Okay, I don't see any additional questions. Let me check on the chat box. Okay, we have a question from a couple of questions. The deadline to submit proposals. So Alejandra Garcia is actually asking when is the deadline. So it's April 23.
The reason we've chosen that date as well, sorry, this is Jenny, just to comment on.
Yes, please, Jenny.
Yeah, the reason we've done that is because the World Data Forum in China is shortly afterwards. So we're aware that some colleagues will get very busy from the community. So we want to make sure that people are able to get them done and then go off to another of these international events if they are participating without being encumbered by that. Thanks.
Thank you, Jenny. And there's another question from Carla. Will the event be hybrid? Can some speakers in a session participate remotely?
Yeah.
And will sessions be live streamed? Yes, please, Jenny, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm happy to speak to that. This has been a lively debate between our communities, but I think what we've decided is we are going to really focus on in person, because the network hasn't met in person for a number of years now because of the pandemic. then we really want to focus on the networking. And these session proposals that we presented today are very, very participatory, which makes hybrid participation really difficult. So we'll be live streaming all the plenaries. We're going to also have some town hall debates that will be about the big existential issues like AI, like data inclusion, that sort of stuff. So we will live stream those and allow for hybrid interactions, but most of these sessions will not be hybrid. They'll only be in person. Thanks.
Thanks so much, Jenny. This another question about, there was about a slide deck. So we do have the slide deck in the website of the Data Festival. So we can share probably the link here as well, which includes most of the information that we are sharing today. And you can have a look at it there. So let me see if there's another question. How many sessions? Can you repeat? There's another question related to, can you repeat the email address? You mean the email at Jimena Poblete? So, I don't know, but there's an answer. I think it's already been answered, so sorry. I don't think we have additional questions here. I think most of them have been.
I see from Grant. Hi, Grant.
Oh, yeah, in the other chat, yeah. So
yeah, so there's an
ahead.
age bracket question on the submission form. Is there a preference on age range? The preference is for diversity, and so, you know, across the span of the entire event, we want to make sure that all the different age groups are represented. There has been some calls for the plenaries to include youth participation, and youth speakers were also speaking to the UN about the possibility of doing a hackathon that involves the UN youth group. And so we're hoping to make this more diverse from an age perspective than previous festivals, but, you know, across the sessions, we're looking for broad representation. Thank you.
Thanks, Jenny. There's a question related on how long does it take to inform the successful applications?
Yeah, Alan, do you want to answer that?
Certainly. Once the proposals are closed, then we will be distributing those amongst the program advisory group for review, and that process will take approximately 2 weeks. So we're hoping to inform everyone who submits a proposal around the second half of May, between May 17 and 26 is our target. So if we take that as by May 26, you should know if your proposal has been successful.
Okay, good. I don't see any more questions. Anyone would like to open the mic in case you have more questions? I don't see anyone raising a hand.
Maybe while we're waiting for more questions, I'll just remind everybody to register if you haven't already. Those of you who are asking about travel support will use the registration portal to share information about that. And we're really keen to capture, you know, who is interested in attending. And so please do register sooner rather than later. Thank you.
I would like to raise one more additional point. There is not a limit on proposals. So if you have multiple good ideas that you think would fit well at the festival, then by all means, feel free to submit more than one proposal. Similarly, if you are unsure of your ability to travel to Uruguay in person for the festival, but your organization or the network that you're in could support a proposal, you can submit that proposal on behalf of the people that you work with, as long as the presenters and people who are taking part in it will be able to travel. So if you're not able to be there, don't let that stop you from sharing good ideas, please.
Yeah, and maybe to add to that as well, we know that there is often change based on people's availability and people's travel dates. So we understand, you know, you're going to include potential speakers in this event, and then there may be some flux later on. You know, that's just a fact of life in this day and age post-pandemic. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't see any additional questions. But maybe just to add also, the information about the slide deck actually that was shared today, as I said, is also on the website, or most of the information is on the website. You can follow the principles, the criteria, and also the different kind of sessions that we're proposing. And if you have additional questions, so there's the email address that was shared as well, and it's also on the slide deck, so that you can have additional questions afterwards. I think.
Freddie, we have a question from Sophia.
Yeah.
We might want to ask them to speak directly and to clarify a little bit. Thanks.
Yes, so there's a question related to infrastructure, but it will be related to what kind of question, what kind of session is going to be organized. So yeah. Let me check if there are other additional questions. Okay.
Sophia, you're able to come live on the microphone if you would like to clarify more.
Yeah, can you
Go
hear
ahead.
me?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for your presentation. Just only I want to ask about if once the proposal are accepted, so if we need any resources or infrastructure there will be available. That was my question, and thanks for asking the first question for me. Thanks.
Great. Maybe I should handle that one. Yeah, so we've tried to indicate what resources we'll make available in the room. For example, you know, whiteboards or AV or that sort of stuff. We tried to think through what would be needed, but if there is a particular need, we're happy to discuss, you know, beyond what we're already making available. I will say that the convention center is extremely well appointed. That was one of the decision points in favor, apart from Uruguay's fantastic attitude and all of their amazingly innovative initiatives. This venue is really, you know, modern and custom built for the type of events that we're doing, with great AV, with great space to move around, with good accessibility. So we want to make sure that everybody's comfortable and able to do their best work and, you know, enjoy the session together. Thanks.
So maybe to complement on that point as well, Jenny, if you have any applications related to particular capacity building session, etc., where actually you require particular infrastructure, it is good that you highlight that in the proposal so that we can take into account that. Thanks. Let me again check if we have additional questions or anyone would like to open the mic. We still have some time for questions or comments, in case anyone would like to jump in. Okay. So I don't see any open questions right now, unless I'm missing some questions, but I don't think so. So I think Jenny, hand it over to you again.
Thank you. Just to say thank you, Freddie. That was fantastic. And yeah, I hope everyone appreciates that we've been strict on ourselves in terms of lightning talks today and tried to be as succinct as possible. But, you know, please feel free to share this recording and the slides with your colleagues. And if you have other, you know, comments or questions afterwards, we're very accessible. Please reach out to us. We want this to be, you know, back and forth and dialogue, so everybody's super clear on what's needed. So if, yeah, as Julia says, if questions come up after the webinar, you can email festival@data4sdgs.org. We'll be checking that in, you know, your preferred language. And now I'm going to hand over to Federico Segoe from INE. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny. I'm Federico Segui, Deputy Director General of the National Statistical Institute of Uruguay. As you have seen, the Festival de Datos, we have a different format than other conferences. This event will not be like the traditional international conferences with a lot of typical sessions with 3 or 4 speakers, which make it a bit monotonous and don't leave much space for interaction and participation. Of course, it will have plenary sessions and some panels, but it will not be the general rule. Also, the name of the events such as celebration. In fact, we want to celebrate collaboration, reuse and sharing of data initiatives. It is focused on in networking, interactions, collaboration, wide participation, case study analysis. The Festival de Datos will have training sessions, peer exchange sessions, simulation, matchmaking, ideas labs, fishbowls, lighting talks, interactive panel discussions, plus plenary town hall debates, exhibition and activations, also side events, field trips and workshops. We really encourage to all of you to submit your proposals, and also as a member of the statistical community, particularly, I invite colleagues from statistical offices to submit their proposals to be included in the DataFest sessions. In fact, of Uruguay, we present its experience on using administrative registers and for statistical purposes, and collaboration projects on accessing and using privately held data, and other interesting local projects and initiatives like One Laptop Per Child, Save Al project. We are very, very happy and excited to host the Festival de Datos. The venue in Punta del Este is fantastic, also the sightseeing. We are also preparing some cultural and fun activities. I don't want to spoil the surprise, but I'm sure you really enjoy your stay in Punta del Este and Uruguay in general. You are very welcome to Uruguay, and see you in November. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And yeah, just to build on that a little bit in the last couple of minutes. So, you know, this is the call for the proposals that make up the body of the agenda. But as I mentioned earlier, there'll also be plenary sessions. There'll be town hall sessions that are extremely participatory, where we're going to hear from a lot of the audience. There will be a call for exhibition space and, you know, different interactive presentations in the main hall of the room that we'll organize after this. I'm also keen to hear your suggestions on data artists, interaction, art. We're thinking of competitions and data visualization contests. Also fringe events. The week before, there's going to be Abre Latam and Con Datos, which is a Latam regional data event. And so, you know, we're thinking that this will be really like a month of celebration of data within the country. And the field trips that Federico mentioned, we'll be working out the details of those, but we recognize that Punta del Este is a beautiful place, great place to visit. Many of you will want to see other examples in action. So perhaps we'll have a trip to Montevideo. You know, we have a number of different examples of innovation out in the real world. And so we'll cultivate some opportunities for that also. So this is not the extent of the opportunities to engage. There will be other calls, but this is, if you want to be with a session on the main agenda, this is your chance. And we really look forward to seeing your proposals. So thanks everyone for your time, and we look forward to hearing from you. Thanks again.